The brave men didn't kill dragons. The brave men rode them.
Hey guys, it's Chris and welcome back to another House of the Dragon video. And today I want to talk about the events leading up to the Dance of the Dragons. Obviously this show will focus on the dance itself, the Civil War that takes place over a period of about 3 years. So let's talk about that by doing a timeline of what we can expect to see of all the juicy stuff leading up to the Dance of the Dragons. Now obviously in House of the Dragon we will see multiple timelines that we saw in the teasers, and Game of Thrones starts about 300 AC, while the Dance of the Dragons itself takes place about 129 AC, so about 170 years before Game of Thrones. But we do see the timeline with the young Rhaenyra, young Alicent, etc., which should be around about 15 years or so, at least in the show. So again, while the focus will be the 3 years before the dance itself, there should be a lot of lead up to that, setting up events for the Civil War itself. So let's start the timeline here at 101 AC. We saw on the teaser as the Great Council of 101 AC at Harrenhal, although I do expect this to be just a few scenes, but this will set up the precedent of what's going on about not letting a woman sit the Iron Throne. So 101 AC, during the time of King Jaehaerys, the Old King or the Good King, widely considered to be one of the best kings in Westerosi history. So King Jaehaerys held a council after the death of his wife, Good Queen Alicent, and as the Targaryen family grew, the line of succession became a little bit muddy. The two main contenders, of course, were Rhaenys and Viserys Targaryen, both grandchildren to the king, since the king's son Aegon had died only 3 days after being born prematurely. So an heir was needed that everyone would be loyal to pass on the line of succession peacefully. And of course, ultimately Viserys was chosen even though Rhaenys was older, so this set up the precedent for the upcoming war. And speaking of peace, do you want to watch your favorite TV shows or browse the internet without worried about being tracked? Let me introduce you to today's sponsor, Atlas VPN. A VPN is a virtual private network that encrypts your data and masks your IP address, allowing you to browse the internet anonymously. Atlas VPN is running a huge discount where you can get the 3-year subscription for just $199 a month, and of course that comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So do you want to watch House of the Dragon when it comes out, but in your region or country it's got a delayed release date? Just use Atlas VPN and select a US or UK server, for example, and HBO or Sky will think you are in those locations. The same goes for other streaming services like Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus, etc., where they offer certain shows only in certain regions. With Atlas VPN, you can simply bypass geo restrictions and access your favorite content from across the world. Also stop malicious links, ads, and trackers, and all this works on all your devices under one subscription. And you want to talk about easy to use? You literally just click one button, you slide that over right there, and it is now connected. I am on a VPN through my phone, so now I can sling all my favorite shows to my TV without being tracked and skipping geolocation restrictions. And as I mentioned, right now Atlas VPN is running a special huge discount. It means you get a 3-year subscription for just $199 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So time is running out. Get your deal today by clicking the link in the video description below. And thanks again to Atlas VPN for sponsoring today's video. Now let's jump back to the timeline. 103 AC, King Jaehaerys died with Alicent by his side, reading to him. She had been watching over him since her father Otto Hightower had become Hand of the King, and the king's health had been failing for a few years at this point. This made Viserys king, of course, as decided by the council, who at the time had no dragon. He did choose Balerion the Blackdread, who he only got to ride a couple of times because at this point he was old and slow. Of course, Balerion the Blackdread once belonged to his ancestor, Aegon the Conqueror. Also during this time, Viserys named his younger brother Daemon as his Master of Coin, and he then became Master of Laws for a short time before being assigned to Lord Commander of the City Watch, partly because the Hand of the King Otto Hightower came to hate him. He didn't want him anywhere near the crown, and Otto Hightower also suggested to King Viserys at the time to name his daughter Rhaenyra Targaryen heir to the Iron Throne. Then we jump to 104 AC. As mentioned in the previous video, Daemon would bring some respect back to the City Watch, providing them new armor, new weapons, and golden cloaks, and calling himself the Prince of the City, and the City Watch earned a new nickname as well from that point on, being called the Gold Cloaks, as we saw in Game of Thrones. And this same year, a tourney was held at Maidenpool in the Riverlands to celebrate Viserys' coronation, and here you'll meet Sir Criston Cole as well, who made quite a name for himself during this tournament as he beat Daemon Targaryen in both the melee event and the joust. Rhaenyra was also in attendance, and Criston Cole asked for a favor as she was becoming very popular at this time and was being called the Realm's Delight. She was also the youngest Targaryen to tame a dragon that she had named Syrax at the age of only 7. And then we jump to 105 AC. Queen Aemma Arryn gave birth to a son, but died during childbirth, and the boy died the next day. Daemon was apparently heard joking about this, so Viserys immediately named his daughter Rhaenyra heir to the Iron Throne, and Daemon left his position as Lord Commander of the City Watch. And as we saw in the teaser trailer, every lord in Westeros was made to swear fealty to Rhaenyra as his heir. Then we jump to 106 AC. Viserys remarried, this time Alicent Hightower, the friend of Rhaenyra, and the same girl who had been at the court since her father was named the Hand of the King, and who was taking care of the old King Jaehaerys before his death. Now during this time, Daemon once again left his wife in the Vale, and decided to fly his dragon Caraxes to the Stepstones with the help of his friend Corlys Valerion, otherwise known as the Sea Snake, and conquer the islands. He just wanted to rule something, earning himself the nickname the Rogue Prince. And 107 AC, Aegon II was born. The king finally had a son, but Viserys still recognized Rhaenyra as his heir to the Iron Throne. Then we jump to 109 AC. Aegon II's sister was born Helena, and now that bastard Otto Hightower tried to get him to declare his son Aegon II the heir to the Iron Throne, although previously he's the one who suggested that he name Rhaenyra heir to the Iron Throne. As you can see, this was for his own family's gain, being that Aegon was his grandson. Now, after too many times suggesting this, Viserys stripped him of being hand to the king and sent his ass home to Old Town. Also, Daemon completed his conquest of the Stepstones during this year and was crowned King of the Stepstones by his friend, Corlys Valerion. Now we jump to 111 AC. Now during this time, another tournament was held, and I think they'll combine these tournaments in the show. And the young Rhaenyra was in attendance once again, wearing the colors of her house, a black gown, while Alicent was there wearing green. Supporters from this point on were known as the Blacks and the Greens based off the colored dresses they were wearing. During this time, Daemon returned to King's Landing and offered his crown of the Stepstones to his brother that kind of mended their relationship, but of course that only lasted about 6 months. Then we moved to 113 AC. Now Rhaenyra was 16 years old and took her seat at Dragonstone as the Princess of Dragonstone. This of course is customary for any heir to the Iron Throne. Now the marriage proposals started coming in, but her father made her marry Lochmoor Velaryon, son of the Sea Snake, the richest house in Westeros at the time. Now she didn't agree with this because she heard that he preferred the company of men, but nevertheless in the next few years they had 3 children, Jacaerys, Lucerys, and then Joffrey in 117 AC, none of which had the typical Valyrian features, as they all 3 had brown hair and brown eyes and were described as plain looking. Then in 115 AC, Daemon marries Laena Velaryon after his wife died from falling from a horse, and they would have twin girls, Rhaena and Baela. And then we jump to 120 AC, and this was called the Year of the Red Spring. Lots of bad shit happened this year. Both of Corlys Valeryon's kids died, Laena due to childbirth complications, and Laenor was killed at a festival, supposedly by his lover. The rumors then started about Rhaenyra's kids. It was noted that Rhaenyra's sworn shield, Harwin Strong of Harrenhal, called Breakbones, had brown hair as well, and to try to quell the rumors, King Viserys sent him home to Harrenhal, but then he mysteriously died in a fire, and his father, the current Lord of Harrenhal, Lionel Strong, also died in the same fire. Otto was asked to return as Hand of the King, and also during the same year, Daemon and Rhaenyra were secretly married, both being free now from a few deaths in the family, and had their first son, Aegon III. Now, Daemon had tried to get close to her over the years as she was the heir, and it was said that she had always been smitten with her uncle. It's also worth noting that during this time, Alicent's second son, Aemond, tamed the largest dragon still alive at the time, called Vhagar. He did this in secret as he knew his parents would not approve. Now I won't go into any details here to avoid any major spoilers for the show, but I will say he did succeed, but it did come at a cost. Now a few more things did happen between this time and 129 AC as the Dance of the Dragons kicked off, again except for a few things that I won't mention here due to spoilers. But time was all it took, all the pieces were in place, and it just took the death of a king to set things ablaze. Literally. And as usual, thank you to everyone on Patreon who supports this channel, as we cannot depend on ad revenue anymore. And again, thanks to Atlas VPN for sponsoring today's video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.